All right, so we're diving deep today into the Bohemian Grove.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, one of its most controversial aspects, the cremation of care ritual.
Right.
And we're going to be looking at it through this collage between Alex Jones and David Gergen.
Really fascinating stuff.
It is, and for people who might not know, the Bohemian Grove is that super exclusive all-male club nestled in those California redwoods.
Yeah.
And we've got this audio recording of a confrontation between Jones and Gergen that's just wow.
It is something else, especially with all the strong reactions people have to the Bohemian Grove in general.
Yeah.
It's a place steeped in history, going all the way back to the late 19th century.
Oh, wow.
This mix of power, secrecy, ritual.
Yeah.
It really captures the imagination.
It does.
Yeah.
So, okay, to set the scene a bit, this audio is from this surprise encounter
Okay.
where Alex Jones confronts David Gergen.
Right.
And Gergen, he was a member of the Bohemian Grove.
He was.
And he was, a pretty prominent political figure, advised multiple presidents.
Yeah, he was a big deal.
Yeah.
You can just feel the tension in the audio right from the start.
Oh, yeah.
Alex Jones, you know him, that confrontational style.
Yeah.
And his, well, let's just say his unique theories.
Right.
He really goes after Gergen
Oh, yeah.
about the membership, about this cremation of care ceremony.
It's intense.
It is.
And the thing is, Gergen, even though everyone knows he's a member,
Right.
he doesn't want to talk about it at first.
No, not at all.
He even calls out Jones's methods, calls it like ambush journalism or something like that.
Ambush journalism.
And he criticizes him for violating an agreement
Right.
by secretly recording and releasing footage of the ceremony.
From that time he snuck in there.
Yeah, like a previous infiltration.
Exactly.
Well,
Gergen keeps bringing up, gentlemanly conduct, respect for agreements. It's like those values are at the core of the Bohemian Grove itself.
interesting.
But that cremation of care ceremony, that's what really gets people going.
I can see why. Yeah. It sounds like something straight out of a movie.
It does, doesn't it?
This ritual where they burn an effigy called Care
Right.
at the base of this giant owl statue.
Yeah, a giant owl statue.
It's enough to make anyone wonder what's really happening there.
For sure.
So, you've got these totally different ways of looking at it. You've got Alex Jones.
Right.
He sees the cremation of care and the whole Bohemian Grove really as proof of this powerful elite
Yeah.
engaging in, sinister occult practices shaping global events.
Mm-hmm.
And he even says they view everyday people as like cattle.
Cattle. Yeah.
It's a pretty stark view.
It is.
And then you have Gergen, who pushes back hard,
Oh, he does.
denies anything sinister is going on,
Right.
insists the Bohemian Grove is just a private social gathering,
Right.
a place for these powerful men to relax and bond,
Yeah, without the public eye on them.
away from the spotlight.
Right, exactly.
But what's fascinating is how these two completely opposite interpretations
Reflect this bigger debate
this much bigger debate.
about secret societies and their influence on society.
Yeah, their impact.
Makes you think, right?
It does.
How much secrecy is okay?
That's the question, isn't it?
Especially when you're talking about people with so much power.
Exactly.
Where's the line between their privacy and the public's right to know?
Right. Where do you draw that line?
And does all this secrecy just breed mistrust?
It's a good point.
It makes you wonder.
It really does.
Yeah, it really makes you think, like, how do we even sort through all of this?
Right.
I mean, you've got these strong opinions and the secrecy, and then, the actual facts.
Yeah.
How do we find the truth about the Bohemian Grove and all of that?
Well, separating fact from fiction is always a good place to start, isn't it?
Yeah.
We know it's a real place
Right.
with a history that goes all the way back to the late 1800s.
Late 1800s. Wow.
And we know that each year it hosts this gathering of influential figures.
From all walks of life, politics, business, media, you name it.
Right, like the who's who of the powerful.
Exactly.
And we know that the cremation of care,
Yeah.
it's just one of several rituals that happen there.
It is.
Rituals shrouded in symbolism and, of course, secrecy.
Lots of secrecy.
Which makes you wonder, what are the implications of all this?
Yeah. What are the implications?
When you have this powerful group meeting behind closed doors,
Right.
could their decisions have an impact on the world,
Beyond those redwoods.
Beyond those redwoods, exactly.
That's a tough question.
It is a tough question to answer.
Yeah.
There's just so much we don't know.
Right.
But it's fascinating how the Bohemian Grove, whether intentionally or not, compels us to think about these complex issues.
Yeah, these issues surrounding power, secrecy.
Right, and even just human behavior.
Absolutely. It challenges us to consider the role of the media, too,
Oh, yeah. How
in
so?
holding powerful institutions accountable.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
I mean, regardless of how you feel about his approach,
Right.
Alex Jones did bring this secretive gathering into the public eye.
He did. He did.
So was this an act of public service or a violation of trust?
That's a good question.
It is tricky.
It is.
On the one hand, you could argue that, shining a light on something like this is important.
Okay.
It keeps those in power in check.
Right.
But then on the other hand, you have this concept of privacy,
Yeah.
this right to some degree of separation between public and private life.
That's true.
It's about finding that balance, you see,
Okay.
between the public's right to know and the individual's right to privacy.
I see.
And when you're dealing with people who hold these positions of immense power and influence,
All right.
that line can get really blurry.
Yeah, it can get really blurry.
Yeah,
This whole thing feels like a real-life conspiracy thriller sometimes.
it does, doesn't it?
You've got these shadowy figures, secret rituals, whispers of influence.
It's easy to let your imagination run wild.
It really is.
And that's where critical thinking is so important.
Okay.
It's tempting to just jump to conclusions,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with something as mysterious as the Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle with missing pieces.
Exactly.
You try to make sense of it with what you do have, but
Yeah.
you just wonder.
You can't help but wonder if there's more to the picture.
Yeah, if there's more.
And that's what makes it so interesting,
It does.
because the Bohemian Grove and the reactions it provokes,
Mm-hmm.
they tell us a lot about ourselves,
Oh, really?
about our anxieties,
Okay.
our fascination with these hidden workings of power.
Yeah, like what's going on behind the curtain?
Exactly.
Okay, so this kind of brings us back to that core question we keep coming back to.
Yeah, that question.
How much secrecy is acceptable?
That's it. How much?
Especially when it comes to organizations or individuals who hold, significant influence.
It's a question that goes beyond the Bohemian Grove, though, don't you think?
Oh, I see what you mean.
We wrestle with it in so many contexts. Government, corporations, even our own personal life.
That's true.
So where do you draw that line?
Yeah. Where do you...
And who gets to decide where that line is drawn?
That's a big one.
It is.
It's like a constant negotiation.
It is. It really is.
And there's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Nope. No easy answers.
But what's important is that we keep asking these questions.
We have to.
Keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. Because the more we talk about it,
Yeah.
the more we understand these complex dynamics
Okay.
between power, secrecy, and accountability.
Right, and the better equipped we are to kind of navigate a world
To navigate this world.
where information and access to it are constantly being shaped and reshaped.
Exactly. It's a constantly evolving landscape.
It makes me wonder if this fascination with secret societies,
Yeah.
with groups like the Bohemian Grove,
Right.
is also a way of trying to make sense of a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable.
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
Like if we can identify these hidden forces,
Yeah.
maybe we can feel a little more in control.
There's definitely a human desire for order.
Right.
This need to understand the underlying patterns of the universe.
Yeah, like make sense of it all.
And sometimes when we're faced with complexity,
Yeah.
we seek out simplified explanations.
I guess it's easier to believe in a group of powerful individuals pulling the strings. Than to just accept that things are messy and unpredictable.
It can be comforting in a way,
Right.
especially when those powerful individuals are meeting in a secluded redwood grove,
Right.
performing rituals under a giant owl. It
Exactly.
taps into some pretty deep-seated archetypes.
It really does.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up this part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I want to shift gears a bit
All right.
and focus on a question for you.
Okay.
We've been talking a lot about secrecy and anxieties and all of that,
Right.
but I'm curious, what about the other side of that?
The other side.
Transparency.
Yeah, transparency. That's a good one.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, transparency in its purest form
Yeah.
is about openness,
Okay.
making information accessible and understandable,
Right.
holding power accountable,
Right.
fostering trust.
But there are different levels of transparency, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, complete transparency is probably impossible.
It probably is.
And maybe even undesirable in certain situations.
Yeah, in certain situations, for sure.
So it's not just about making everything public all the time.
No, not at all.
It's about finding that balance, right?
Precisely.
Being strategic and thoughtful about what information needs to be shared
Right.
and when.
And when, exactly.
And then there's the question of who gets to make those decisions.
Ah, yes, that's a big one.
Because those decisions often rest in the hands of those who already hold power.
That's the tricky part, isn't it?
It is.
And that's where the potential for abuse comes in.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Transparency, when it's used correctly,
Yeah.
can be a powerful tool for accountability and trust,
Okay.
but it can also be manipulated, used to advance certain agendas.
So it's like anything else.
It is.
It can be used for good or for bad.
Exactly, a double-edged sword.
It makes me think about the role of journalism,
Mm-hmm.
especially investigative journalism.
All right.
It plays such a vital role
It does.
in holding those in power accountable.
Absolutely.
You think about Watergate,
Oh, yeah.
the Panama Papers.
Big moments.
Huge moments.
Watershed moments.
Where journalists uncovered these hidden truths.
Right, exposed wrongdoing.
Yeah, that those in power wanted to keep hidden.
Absolutely.
And those revelations had a real impact, didn't they?
Oh, they did.
Shifted public perception, led to policy changes.
And in some cases brought down powerful individuals.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
It really demonstrates the power of investigative journalism.
Yeah.
To hold a mirror up to society.
Right.
Reveal those uncomfortable truths.
Yeah, the things people don't want to see.
And spark these necessary conversations about power, corruption, accountability.
It really makes you think
It does.
about the consequences if those stories had never been told.
Right. What if?
What if those journalists hadn't been willing to take the risk?
Yeah, to dig deeper.
To challenge the narrative.
It underscores the importance of a free and independent press. A press that isn't afraid to ask tough questions.
Yeah.
And challenge those in authority.
Absolutely. And it highlights the role of the public, too.
For sure.
In demanding that transparency.
Right, that accountability.
We can't just sit back and wait for journalists to uncover everything.
We can't. We have to be active participants.
Yeah, engaged citizens.
Asking questions, demanding answers.
Right, holding our leaders responsible.
It's a shared responsibility, isn't it?
It is.
Journalists uncover the truth.
Yeah.
But it's up to all of us.
All of us.
To demand that those in power operate with transparency and integrity.
You know, when you think about it that way,
Yeah.
the story of the Bohemian Grove,
Right.
this clash between Alex Jones and David Gergen,
This whole thing.
it becomes like a microcosm.
It's a microcosm, yeah.
Of this much larger
There's
conversation
a much bigger debate.
about the balance between secrecy and transparency.
Yeah, that's it right there.
The role of the media in holding power accountable.
Absolutely.
And the responsibility we all have
We all have a part to play.
in making sure that those in power are acting in the best interests of the people they serve.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's a conversation that's relevant to all of us.
It is. It really is.
Regardless of our political beliefs.
Right. It goes beyond that.
Or our views on secret societies, even.
It's a fundamental question.
Because ultimately,
Ultimately,
it's a conversation about the kind of society we want to live in.
that's what it comes down to.
A society where power is exercised responsibly.
Right. Where things are done the right way.
Where information is accessible.
Where we know what's going on.
And where those in authority are held accountable.
Held accountable for their actions.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Bohemian Grove, I'm left with this question for you.
Right.
After considering all of this, the history, the rituals, these clashing perspectives,
All of it.
what are your thoughts on the role of secrecy in a democratic society?
That's a good one.
Where do you draw that line?
Yeah. Where's that line?
Between protecting individual privacy
Right.
and ensuring public accountability.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
It's complex.
It is.
No easy answers.
No.
But it's a question worth thinking about.
Absolutely.
Worth discussing.
Yeah, worth debating.
Because the answers we come up with,
Yeah.
they'll shape our society
Yeah.
and determine the balance of power
Right. Who has the power?
between those who govern and those who are governed.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
Exploring the history, the symbolism, the controversy
All the twists and turns.
surrounding the Bohemian Grove.
Yeah, a real deep dive.
And I hope this has given you some new insights
I hope so.
into this enigmatic organization
An enigma wrapped in a mystery.
and spark some thought-provoking questions.
Right, some things to ponder.
About the nature of power, secrecy,
And our role in all of it.
in shaping a more transparent and accountable society.
That's the goal, isn't it?
It is. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
My pleasure. Always a good conversation.